not eating enough protein or fiber. This was a big one for me. A lot of people hear this and maybe they think they're eating enough protein already and they probably aren't, or they just have difficulty stomaching it and it's difficult to get in. In my case, like I said, I was a soccer player my whole life. I knew nothing about nutrition, though. Just like you with baseball, I could have been a much better player if I focused on my nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
I had no muscle. I was all skin and bones. And as soon as I started training, I didn't know what I was doing. I just went on like the bodybuilding.com forums and stuff. And I just saw what is the professional bodybuilders doing. So they said, eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's what I did. And I did get great results from it. So now we know for the average person to eat around, or at least what we recommend to our clients or people we talk to, is eating 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Protein is not only the macronutrient that's most associated with building muscle, but it's also so much more satiating than other macronutrients are. And your body requires so much more metabolic processes and burns more calories in order to actually just digest protein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in a scientific standpoint, we want at the low end want to hit 0.6 grams per pound of body weight, and Benji's absolutely right. So you want to hit about 0.8, and to be safe, you go up to 1.0 times grams per body weight. That's the science way of looking at it. In terms of practicality, most people actually just don't eat enough protein, and when they relay the message back to me, like, "Hey, what did you eat yesterday?" They would tell me like, "Oh, English muffin for breakfast, maybe an egg, maybe one egg." To be like, oh, I had whatever we had at work, which is normally like a salad and maybe a small chicken breast and then some almonds in between. And next thing you know, they have a dinner. And maybe that's where like their main meat source is. But overall, that's maybe only 60 grams of protein. And for a normal person, and especially the people that we work with, around about 5'10" men, about 200 pounds, they need to get way more protein. So It's just being aware of how much you're currently intaking. And I guarantee you're probably not getting enough, or these people that we are working with, they have not gotten enough. Out of all the hundreds of people I've worked with, the first consultation, especially in person, when I was working in person more, that they would probably get on average, I would say no more than 70 grams of protein. And that's not a lot.
And sometimes they would be thinking they were eating a lot. Like, oh yeah, I drink my protein shakes after I work out, all this stuff.
Yeah, they drink their protein shakes, they slam right after their workout, and I look at them, I'm like, hey, you know what, it's only like 20, 25 grams. Like, I'm proud of you. Like, hey, you're getting your protein in. Like, that's definitely something to be proud of. But let's get to that optimal range where things start to happen. And most of you, once you start tracking these things, you'll understand, wow, I do not get a lot, like at all. So what we kind of recommend here is that first is find that baseline of how much you're currently eating. And then at every meal that you have, that you prioritize protein and fiber. So if you're eating a piece of meat or a meat substitute like tofu, we recommend eating about the palm size of your hand. So about here and the puck. And from there, that's approximately one serving or 20 to 25 grams of protein. So if you guys are watching this, I am currently weighing in at 190 pounds. I need to be eating about 150 grams of protein. So basically, if I was to eat it all in meat, that I would probably need about 8 of these bad boys right here. But I don't eat all meat. That is just an example.
Yeah, what are the main sources of meat that you actually eat to get your protein intake in? What are some of the more common foods you eat for that?
Yeah, I love eating grass-finished ground beef, steak, a lot of red meats. I do eat poultry and all that, and fish as well. So wild-caught salmon, cod. I'm not too particular with any other ones as long as they're wild-caught. And poultry-wise, I just make sure they're as best as I can, get them to where they are free-range, and they not necessarily organic, but if I go that route, I go that route. But drumsticks are my favorite on that end. And in terms of fiber, by all means, go to town on fiber because most people don't get enough fiber. Think of all your vegetables, your fruits. Most people just don't get that at all. They usually go out for takeout. They make their own foods or put in the oven and boom, done. Or they get pre-made foods already at the store. So the chance of you getting enough fiber is very slim unless you're taking in like Fiber One bars like every other hour, which is what I used to do too. And did not do well for my stomach. I do not recommend that.
Yeah, no, it's not fun. Like as an example, I still use like psyllium husk powder in my morning shakes, and I don't recommend just relying on psyllium husk powder. Get your fruits and vegetables in. But even that, it makes me crap my brains out. It's horrible, like instantly. But The fiber, definitely recommend. It's game changing. It's when I started focusing on my nutrition, I was just focusing on the distribution between carbs, protein, fat. Never really looked at fiber as anything important. And then I was like, hey, I'm still pretty hungry all the time. What's going on? I think I was probably talking to you when I first started learning all of this.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, how's your fiber intake? And I was like, what? So I started to definitely incorporate like 3 to 4 cups of fruits and veggies a day as a minimum. And I do the psyllium husk powder, but that's kind of a last resort type of thing, similar to like that of a protein shake. And so it's just a tool. But in terms of getting more vegetables in, because I do love fruit, but vegetables this is my weak point because I absolutely deplore vegetables. I do not like them. I'm one of those people where your parents tried to feed them when you're younger and you just hide. And Chris gave me a little secret, and there are a few caveats to this, and Chris will go over it. But basically, you take high-quality orange juice, like somewhere between 6 and 8 ounces, and you put a cup or 2 of vegetables in there. So I was doing frozen spinach and kale, and it sounds absolutely gross, but it just tastes like orange juice. It's magical, and it's a great way to get your fiber in, and it's a great diet hack.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, this was created by Stan Efferding. He's the one that obviously gave this out, and I follow this because at this point, you have to eat so much that I rather would just take in all these vegetables. But to also put it in an example, by the way, to actually eat that in a salad. Most people eat salads, and they're probably no more than a decent sized bowl, but that's probably no more than about 100 grams of whatever leafy greens are in there. And for example, even each one of these shakes that we do together, for one person, we do like 8 to 12 ounces of OJ, like you said, and then I personally put in about 200 to 300 grams of leafy greens. So that's about 3 salads in one shake. So
It's wild.
So think to yourself, like, people who actually eat it, like, oh my God, like eating salad's better. It's like, whoa. The sheer amount of actual greens you would have to eat to get all that fiber in is a lot. So that's why in my case, would rather blend it. But this is just a fail-safe way to get it in. So it's not like the end-all be-all. Is a cool trick to do, especially if you're like, hey, I really don't like my vegetables, and there's no other way I'm going to eat them. By all means, yes. Orange juice, spinach, leafy greens of your choice, and then I like to throw in berries. I love a cup of berries, and also that adds in the fiber and antioxidant profile of the drink. But yeah, the caveats, like hopefully that your insulin levels are okay. So just please, if you have high blood sugars or you're insulin resistant, that this is probably not the best idea for you, and you probably should be eating just leafy greens on your own.